Destiny 2 is infamous for its loot and its unique PvE experience with raiding and dungeons. This is the true endgame of Destiny besides drip, and in order to conquer these easily, you typically use what is referred to as the meta. The meta is defined as the most broken weapon, ability, or loadout currently in the game, and the meta is constantly changing with every season nowadays. But back in Destiny 1, one of the first and best metas we've ever had is the iconic PvE loadout of Fatebringer, Blackhammer, and Gjallarhorn. Of course, this is when Gjallarhorn was at the peak of its power, and this loadout shredded everything, and people were killing Atheon without even going into the time stream. Crota was getting downed in 2 rockets, and nightfalls were made into jokes. Blackhammer's White Nail gave it 3 bullets back from thin air, meaning infinite ammo. If you hit 3 precision shots, it was basically a legendary icebreaker. This was only used if Galley didn't have enough ammo, and Fatebringer was just for the mini ads, but it still was amazing with Firefly and Outlaw being the peak ad clear perks at the time. This loadout would come back with Black Spindle being the exotic Black Hammer in year 2, and Galley and Fatebringer both came back into year 3, but this loadout would never see the same glory days again. Next up, bringing it into Destiny 2, we have Mountaintop and Recluse. You cannot have Broken without mentioning these 2 weapons. I would like to take a TH3Jez quote saying, DPS time, and I'm unironically using Mountaintop because for a PvP pinnacle weapon, it sure dominates with its big PvE energy. I think this perfectly sums up Mountaintop for you, especially back then. Let's move on to the Recluse though. Recluse would find its way into nearly every player's loadouts. Pairing up with Anarchy and Izanagi's Burden, both weapons we will touch on later, Recluse was a dominant force in PvP. Ew, I know PvP. I think this is kind of where my distaste for it first began, but even so, this gun was a demon in both PvP and PvE. I seriously don't know if from Forsaken to Beyond Light anyone used any other energy slot weapon, because why would you? The gun was insanely busted due to the Master of Arms perk. After a kill, the damage was significantly increased, to the point where the SMG headshot damage did as much as body shot damage in the Crucible. And it also came with Feeding Frenzy, meaning more kills, reload fast. So for PvE, it was the best ad clear weapon in the game for a long time. This weapon came out during Forsaken, but in Shadowkeep, it made a major comeback once again and still solidified itself as a meta weapon. Real quick, before we go on to the next spot, please subscribe if you do enjoy. It's free, and if you want to support me even farther, you can become a member for early access to my videos and special shoutouts in videos. Also, I'd love to hear your favorite meta in the comments. I'm sorry if I didn't mention it in this video, so let me know in the comments if you want a part 2. Also, join the Discord linked in the description to keep the conversation going, and back to the video. On the topic of Shadowkeep, we need to talk about Izanagi, Recluse, and Wendigo. I will say this might have been my favorite loadout of all time. Now, Izanagi alone could be its whole video and has its own meta itself, but I will include it in other loadouts because it saves me time and I'm a lazy YouTuber. Wendigo was a heavy grenade launcher that had explosive light, but explosive light was way better back then. Let me run you through the one phase LOL strat. Kill every ad using the Recluse, shoot the boss with Izanagi, hone the edge, swap the Wendigo, shoot the boss with it, shoot more Izzy, and the boss was probably dead. Okay, maybe not dead, but this seriously was a wild time. Let's bring in another thing that players abused during this time too, Oppressive Darkness. Back when Void was the Darkness subclass, we would throw a magnetic grenade at the boss and suddenly he had what I think was a 30% debuff, including crits. For reference, Tether is a 30% debuff, and we had a grenade for it. It was literally a pocket tether on a 40-second cooldown. Pair this with Izanagi reloading super fast still, and you had a super quick boss bursting damage phase. Wendigo did insane amounts of damage too, but it was mainly Izzy taking the spot. Izanagi would solidify itself as a meta-defining weapon, even coming back later during Lightfall for bait and switch meta, which we will talk about later as well. Among a similar time, as mentioned before, Anarchy. I don't even think I need to say anything about this, but Anarchy was an exotic grenade launcher from the Sunset raid Scourge of the Past. Its main perk was that it shoots trip mines that do arc damage, and you can connect them almost like an AoE damage thing. But the thing is, this weapon did insane amounts of DPS when it came out. There was no special thing you needed to do. It just shredded bosses. 2 shots at a boss and you did half his health in about 15 seconds. Players paired this weapon with the broken Recluse and the broken Mountaintop at the time, and this loadout reigned over Destiny. You could even make a whole trap before a wave of ads spawn and instantly obliterate them. And the thing is, let's remember what Lunafaction boots did. It was a free reload and sped things up by a crazy amount. Then just shoot Anarchy, swap the busted Mountaintop, and fire away. You could use any weapon with Anarchy, but it was still insane how much damage Anarchy alone did, and Anarchy would make a comeback a little bit, but its former power was still unstoppable, and will never be topped. Anarchy is still my top 3 favorite exotics, so I hope it does make a comeback once more somehow. So the last 2 exotics we talked about came out in Forsaken, and so did this fusion rifle. Yes, 1000 voices. This was an exotic heavy fusion rifle acquired from the Last Wish raid, and this fusion rifle did insane amounts of solar damage. It shot with the range of a linear and the style of a fusion rifle, and doing the damage of what pre-nerf galley was made out to be. This thing shredded everything. Mini bosses, ads, any other enemy type in the game. Back to the weapon, it shot out Telesto-like shots that would stick to targets and then explode after a short delay. The explosions are what the main damage comes from. The best part about this weapon is you could throw it everywhere. Especially for ad clear, it wasn't uncommon to see someone do this while shooting it, just hoping it hits some ads. Bungie themselves even called it a beam of death, which just goes to show how much this weapon had in it. I do miss this time, but not the audio bug. Moving on to another exotic of choice, it's Divinity. I can't not include it on this list. I know it isn't much of a huge weapon, but it truly changed the game forever. When it first came out, we had multiple LF1 with Divinity headass LFG postings. This weapon is a trace rifle that helped to multiply crit damage. It does this by creating a massive bubble when dealing sustained damage. This then allows for your teammates to basically hit a free headshot, and it gives even more damage. I'm pretty sure it's also a 30% damage multiplier, which is again the tether. And by the way, you couldn't miss with this. I feel like I need to stress the importance of that. It's like having a witness crit spot always active on bosses. It was mainly used for bosses with hard to hit crit spots, but honestly, for the 30% damage multiplier, there was no reason for at least one person to not use this per team. Especially when it came out, it even stunned champions and left it insanely easy to run through nightfalls. The legacy of this weapon is nothing to look away from either. This is the best support weapon in the game, and even nowadays, players still default to it in a lot of boss encounters for the reason of either it being a safe option or because the crit spot is hard to hit. The last meta for this video will be the bait and switch meta. I'm sure if you play the game now, you are familiar with the perk bait and switch. This means that if you damage a boss with all your weapons and then swap to your bait and switch weapon, you will have what I think is now a 30% damage buff, but when it first got a buff, it went from Vorpal weapons 20% to a huge 35% damage buff. I could be wrong about that, but I saw it on Reddit, and Reddit is never wrong. So this meta was made popular by the legendary linear fusion rifle Cataclysmic from the Val the Disciple raid. Nowadays, you need to hit a shot with all 3 of your weapons before the perk activates, and this was because how much this weapon perk took over the meta from Witch Queen all the way through Lightfall. The main time I want to talk about though is Into the Light. When Pantheon came out, players would run Izanagi, the energy weapon of their choice, and a bait and switch heavy. This heavy weapon could be the Apex Predator from Last Wish with bait and switch, or the returning Edge Transit. Edge Transit used to be a meme gun, but when it got revamped, it became a powerhouse loadout. This is because it could roll with Envious Assassin and bait and switch, or auto-loading holster and bait and switch. If you were not running a loadout close to this, you had no shot of clearing the Pantheon. This was simply the highest damage output in the game. It is not as common as it was back then, but it still might be seen in today's sandbox. So that is all for this video. I would like to make a part 2 to this, so hopefully this one does well. If you did enjoy and would like a part 2, please comment down below. Special thank you to all of our community members. If you'd like early access to videos and special shoutouts, hit that join button down below. It really supports me. Be sure to join the Discord, link in the description below, and also follow me on Twitch to see it live at twitch.tv/midworth. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.